We're back on one of my core topics today, political prisoners. And my guest is Jennifer Duka, Jenny, wife of Tristan Duka, one of the so-called Fort Dix Five. I wrote about them. The victims of America's war on Islam. Since the 9/11 event, the Bush administration declared war on Islam, meaning for political expediency, targeting innocent Muslim men, occasionally a woman. We had a program on one, absolutely savaged, even though she's completely innocent, completely destroyed human being. That's what our government did to her. They target them. They scare the public. They convince people that there are dangerous people out there. All sorts of names are used. Jihadists, Islamofascists, vilifying Islam, where if anybody took the trouble to find out, they could easily learn that the roots of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are pretty much identical. And the only differences from one to the other is in some of the ritualistic practices. Just like some Protestant sects have different practices than others, and they have different practices from Catholics, who have different practices from Jews, who have different practices from Muslims. But the key is the core ideology. And the basic stuff that's the most important of all are pretty much the same in all of them. But you'd never know it, the way this government goes after innocent Muslim men, primarily, vilifies them, makes them out to be dangerous, dangerous people, and scares the public, but assures them that your government is on guard, and they're discovering plots, and they're foiling them, and they're arresting the people, and they will try them and convict them by scaring jurors to dare not convict them. Even if in doubt, how can you take a chance and let people the government says are so dangerous turn them on the loose? So most often, these people are unjustly or unjustly convicted. The Fort Dix Five are 5 examples. The New York Times announced it on December 22nd. Screaming headline: the Times is the nation's leading propaganda service. Make no mistake about it. We have a break coming up. I haven't even said hello to Jenny yet. But Jenny, after the break, I'll come back. The screaming headline read, 5 are convicted for conspiring to attack Fort Dix. Five guys are going to attack Fort Dix? We'll pick it up right after the break. And Jenny will get you on to talk about it, because this directly affects your life.
Yeah.
Welcome back. I'm on, or I will be shortly, with Jenny Duka, wife of Tristan Duka, one of the Fort Dix Five. Jenny, I want to give some more background information, and then we can get into a discussion, but I want to welcome you to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, Jenny, it's wonderful having you on. I can't tell you, I have written a lot about numerous innocent Muslim men and one woman, Afia Siddiqui, Pakistani Muslim woman. I had a program with her lawyer on. She's the woman that we absolutely destroyed, this glorious woman, this absolutely glorious woman who never did anything to harm anyone. And we literally turned her into mush emotionally from the torture and brutality that we inflicted on her. And we do all kinds of things to numerous others. And we lock them up unjustly and claim that we put bad guys away. Well, the bad guys are the ones who did the prosecuting, are the ones who faked the supposed stories about how bad these people were. Yeah. They're the bad guys, but you never hear about them. Mm-hmm. Jenny, I wrote about your husband and the others the last day of December 31, and as of that date, sentencing was scheduled either for April 22nd or 23rd. Are those still the dates?
No, it's actually the 28th and 29th.
I know they do get changed sometimes, and sometimes at the behest of a defense attorney, and they could be changed again, but sentencing has not yet taken place, so that's still a go. And then oftentimes there's an appeal process afterwards, so this thing can play out and play out. But in any event, you sit in a state of limbo, having no idea just what the fate of your husband and the others will be. And I stressed in my article, this was a frame-up. This was FBI entrapment. It's an old scheme that they pull off time and again. They get informants, in this case, 2 individuals. They wanted favors, which they got from the government, but they were well paid for their efforts that went on for many months to entrap your husband, and they both were paid on the order of around $250,000, our tax dollars, plus expenses. And at the same time, they were wired so they could have hundreds of hours of conversations with your husband and the others, after which the FBI, the Justice Department, pieces together little snippets here and there to make a fraudulent case sound legitimate. It is not. The conclusion of anyone who took a close look at this realized that there was no plot and there was no crime, and yet there was a conviction gotten. Now, if that's justice, that's what goes on in police states. That's the kind of justice police states administer. So there's only one conclusion, and I've written about that too, Jenny. If this is what we do to innocent people, then we qualify as a police state. And I have no doubt in the world that that's true. We'll talk more about that on future programs. But Jenny, talk about what you've gone through and how you're able to communicate with your husband. Where is he now?
He's in the Federal Detention Center in Philadelphia.
How is he being treated as far as you know?
Well, actually, he's been writing out complaints of not eating, not being given food. They've been ripping up the complaints. He's had several complaints there.
This is very common. It's very common. Or they'll give him food, but it doesn't it doesn't comply with a strict Muslim diet.
Yeah, they asked for a kosher meal. They were giving them pork.
They were giving him pork.
Yes.
Now, if a Jewish prisoner, because a Jew wouldn't be in that prison. A Jew wouldn't be targeted for what Tristan was. But let's assume there's a Jewish prisoner in this detention center who happens to keep kosher. They would get him a kosher meal.
Yeah.
No problem. But if a Muslim man asks for it, well, maybe he'll get it and maybe he won't. What they'll do is they'll give them anything they want to give them. And the quality, I assume, is pretty poor, whatever he's getting.
Yeah. He said the bread had mold on it.
This is done deliberately.
This
is done deliberately to make life very, very harsh. Has he been in solitary confinement?
Yes, he's been in the hole, which they call here is the SHU, Special Housing Unit. He's been there ever since his arrest, so it's been almost 2 years now.
So he's been in solitary confinement for a solid year?
Yeah, it's going on 2 years.
It's gone on, I'm sorry, for how long now?
It's going on 2 years now.
On 2 years, all of this time without let up in solitary confinement?
Yes.